What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, CamATL, and welcome back to another NFL DFS video with your boy. Drop a like down below because I already know you're going to love it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment anything in the comment section and your name to the $50 giveaway I do every single week on this channel. In this video, it is Friday. In this video, as you guys know, I did the first look lineup video earlier in the week, a couple days ago. And now I'm going to do the final look breakdown of the entire week one slate. We're going to go position by position and talk about guys that we like, guys maybe we don't like, why we like these guys, all this other stuff. So, position by position, full breakdown. So, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So, I'm not going to go in any particular order. I'm just going to talk about guys that I like, and how I'm liking it to attack this slate this week. All right. So, first and foremost, at the top of the list, there's multiple options at the top of this slate, right? You have multiple guys for multiple reasons projected at the highest. So you got Hurts and Lamar Jackson projected as the highest too. Pretty simple to understand why. Let's just go ahead and click quarterback real quick. They both have that rushing ability. Okay, they both have that rushing ability. They both can move fantastic, and they both are going to get a solid floor just with their feet alone. All right. Um, Now, there's so many cheaper options that I haven't had a ton of options with either of these guys. Like, you can go either one, and it's perfectly fine. I'm not going to fault you if you try to figure out a way to get Lamar or Jalen Hurts in cash games or whatever you want to do. There's so many other good options, like Tua in this game against the Chargers, Justin Herbert on the other side of that game, are both fantastic options that aren't going to do a lot with their feet, but are fantastic options in these matchups, and they're 6'7" and 6'9" comparative to 8K and 7'8". So you're saving some good bit of money and can add some more balance into your lineup. Now, because of the wide receiver value that we have available to us with Marvin Mims Jr. at 3K, it opens things up a little bit, right? Because a lot of people should be playing Marvin Mims. I mean, he might be super duper chalky, and he should be. Denver's hurt right now. They're dealing with injuries, and he's going to be a fantastic value option at only 3K. You really don't need much out of him. If he catches a touchdown or has a big game, it's going to be great for your lineup because obviously you have studs around him if you're playing a 3K guy. Now, because of that value, you have that ability to spend up at quarterback if you choose to do so. Now, there's multiple reasons why I don't like it, and it's because of Herbert, it's because of Tua, it's because of Baker Mayfield at only 4.9, best value at quarterback in my projections that you can ask for. It's because of Anthony Richardson, who also has some running ability at 5'6", Sam Howell 4.9. We've got some value. Desmond Ritter at 4.9. Like guys with decent positions that are in decent spots that are way cheaper and allow you to do so much. Now, obviously, I talked early on in the week and I put Baker. I believe Baker was my guy in my first look lineup. Man, it just comes down to Minnesota being a bad secondary. Minnesota's definitely probably going to win this game and be up in this game, forcing Tampa Bay's game script to be heavy pass. Last year, they were a very pass heavy team. That could have a lot to do with having Tom Brady as your quarterback, but I mean, they're probably going to still be a pass heavy team, seeing that they're probably going to be behind. You know what I mean? But who knows? But in this game, traveling to Minnesota, there should be behind and should be a pass heavy script in a dome. Okay, with no weather issues affecting them in any way. No wind moving the ball in any way. It's just in a dome. Perfect spot for passing. So, yeah, Baker Mayfield, somebody I talked about in the first look lineup. He's a guy that a lot of people might shy away from because he's just Baker Mayfield. But at 4.9, I just absolutely do not think you should shy away from it. I think that he's somebody who's definitely interesting this week and could possibly be a key factor in takedown lineups this week. Would not be surprised. So Baker Mayfield, Anthony Richardson are two cheap guys that I have some interest in. And when it comes to spend ups, if you're wanting to spend up, it's Jackson, Hurts, Tua, and Herbert for me. Those are my key guys. Obviously, Joe Burrow is always going to be decent. I just don't know how. At 7-1, I just prefer Tua and Herbert. So when it comes to pricing, Tua, Herbert are my top two guys I have interest in because another thing that you got to think about is who can I pair these guys with? Now, Jackson and Hurts, you don't have to worry about it because they're going to rush and you don't necessarily have to pair them with anyone. Tua and Herbert, they don't do much with their feet, so it's necessary to pair them. With Herbert, you have Keenan Allen, you have Austin Eckler, you have guys you compare him with. Tua, you have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle. You've got so many good weapons in this game. This game is going to be fantastic offensively. At least that's what you'd expect. So, both of these guys are awesome to me. And then the value of Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Let's talk running back. At the top of the projection list is Austin Eckler. Makes a lot of sense with the format being full point PPR and DK. I mean, he's just going to catch a good amount of passes. He's going to get you just a lot of touches in this game, whether it be on the ground or it be through the air. It doesn't really matter. Christian McCaffrey, another guy who's up here because of that same factor. Bijan Robinson, super excited to see how he does with my Atlanta Falcons. Damian Pierce has some interest for me at 5'8". Let's look at value. When we look at value, though, Deion Jackson, as I said, I don't think we have definitive news on who's going to start for the Colts yet, but I believe Deion Jackson will be the main guy there. Deion Jackson at 4-1 once again opens up the doors to just having the ability to just get another value outside of the receiver that we're already getting on Denver. So Deion Jackson, amazing play. When it comes to value, I'm going to have a lot of him. When it comes to running backs, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones is interesting to me. Brian Robinson Jr. for Washington. They're expected to be in the lead in this game. Probably a run-heavy script. I like Brian Robinson a lot at 5-1. Cam Akers. I expect a big year out of Cam Akers this year. Um, Man, so many options. Cincinnati gave it up on the ground for a little bit last year and then honed it in and did very well against the run. Nick Chubb is somebody interesting, but at 8-2, I'd rather just spend a little more on Austin Eckler. Um, let's see. J.K. Dobbins for Baltimore. J.K. Dobbins for Baltimore has a lot of interest in me because I think Baltimore smashes Houston, or at least is leading this game heavily and probably going to run a lot. Baltimore's already a run-heavy team. When you got a guy like Lamar Jackson on your team, you're going to run a lot. J.K. Dobbins is in a great spot at 6'6". I wouldn't be surprised to see him have a huge game against Houston. We know that matchup against Houston's elite for running backs as well. Kenneth Walker III is an option. Yeah, Bijan Robinson for Atlanta, with them expected to be ahead. He's more of a GPP option because for 400 more you have Austin Eckler, who I believe is the cash guy. But that's about it, man. That's about it. You got the value of Deion Jackson. And then you've got guys like Brian Robinson Jr., who's another guy at 5'1", who's value-ish. J.K. Dobbins, who I talked about. Cam Akers, Aaron Jones. These guys are all solid options. For Green Bay, I would not be shocked to see Aaron Jones catch a career high in passes this season. You know what I mean? Because you've got Love, who's starting for Green Bay. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, utilize Aaron Jones as a safety valve often. And just those little dump offs to Aaron Jones, some little short routes when nothing might be open downfield. And he just kind of dumps it off to Aaron Jones. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of that. Chicago's a solid defense, and Green Bay is not necessarily favored to win. I think Chicago's favored to win, so the game script might be more, needing of Aaron Jones to catch the ball. Chicago didn't do great against the run last season, so it is a interesting spot, man. All right, when you look at the last running backs that faced them last year, you've got DeAndre Swift, who gashed them for 27, Devin Singletary. It's Devin Singletary, right? I don't know. Scored 23. So, a lot of points given up. Great spot for this, all right? So, yeah, Austin Eckler, number one, and then the other guys that I mentioned at running back. Wide receiver, you already know. Let's start off with the value. Marvin Mims is the go-to value. Other guys that pop for us, Rashid Shaheed for New Orleans, Drake London for Atlanta, Jaden Reed, interesting value, Cortland Sutton with all those injuries in Denver. Chris Godwin, I love, especially if you're playing Baker Mayfield. Remember, most of the time, takedown lineups are going to correlate. So most of the time you're going to have, if you play Tua, you're going to have Tyreek. You're going to run it back on the other end with a Keenan or Austin Eckler. Same thing with, if you play Justin Herbert, you're going to pair it with Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, run it back with Tyreek Hill. Those kind of builds are elite this week. They're fantastic options. And that's really where I choose my receivers. I was like, okay, what's my quarterback? So for me, Chris Godwin's an elite option. Mike Evans is an elite option. Tyreek Hill's a great option. Keenan Allen's a guy who I'm super into. Mike Williams even. Like, you've got options that are in those spots. Jalen Waddle. You've got options that are in that spot. Like Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle. Running back with with Keenan and Austin Eckler, if you think that game just shoots out, is a huge recipe for success. Chris Godwin maybe has a little one-off, playing from behind against bad Minnesota secondary. Um, or Baker Mayfield paired up with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, running it back on the other end with Justin Jefferson. That type of correlation. It takes some time to kind of immediately be like, okay, this is, the best lineups correlate perfectly in NFL. They just end up clicking perfectly. The script of how the game's expected to go goes that way. Everything's great. Jefferson's my top projected receiver of the week. So I really like builds. I really, really like builds of Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin running back with Jefferson. Because if this game goes how I'm expecting it to go and Justin Jefferson has a field day and gets a million targets like he was last season and he just racks up PPR points, and then on the other end you've got Chris Godwin catching a shit ton of passes trying to catch up from Baker Mayfield, it's going to be a recipe for success. I wouldn't be surprised to see Baker throw a few touchdowns. One maybe to Godwin, but it might not matter. Godwin might get 10 targets. You know what I'm saying? So great spot there. But outside of that, Jamar Chase is always in play. Devontae Adams is always an option as well. Drake London at 5'4", great value. Chris Olave at 6'5", great value. Cortland Sutton with all the injuries in Denver, great option as well. Christian Kirk, that Jacksonville team's going to be solid. With Calvin Ridley and stuff taking some attention off of Kirk and stuff, some stuff's going to open up there. I really like Jacksonville's offense. Really, really do. All right, let's move on to tight end. When it comes to tight end, I mean, there's a few options I'm trying to go with. Point per salary, Pat Freiermuth, Kyle Pitts, Adam Troutman, Chris Okongwu, all great options when it comes to value for me. Tennessee targeted their tight end like third most in the league last year. So it's a great spot. I'm expecting him to get more targets, and I think they're playing from behind in that one as well. Defense, it's the Commanders for me. That's it. Washington Commanders is the way that I'm liking this week. I mean, it shouldn't be any surprise at 2-8. Fantastic option with them at home in Washington against Arizona this week. It's just the way I'm going. I'm not going to get cute or try anything else, to be completely honest with you. I'm just going to be fully transparent. Don't worry about no other defense. Lock in the Commanders and get different elsewhere. All right? Thank you guys for joining me. Short and sweet and to the point, man. Position by position is pretty obvious for me this week. There's many, many spots at quarterback. Baker Mayfield, Tua, Herbert, or either of the rushing quarterbacks in Lamar or in Jalen Hurts. Running back, you have the value of Deion Jackson. You've got Austin Eckler. You've got Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, Cam Akers. These are my core guys that I'm telling you. J.K. Dobbins. All guys that I have interest in. Wide receiver. Whatever you decide to go for quarterback, pretty much. So Waddle and Tyreek. Justin Jefferson on the other end, running that back. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Mims is locked for value at 3K. What else? Drake London for Atlanta is interesting. He's going to get targeted heavy. Yeah, that's, obviously the Jamar Chases and stuff of the world are fine, but you're not correlating the greatest with him. You're kind of one-offing it, Burrow and Jamar Chase is always a good pairing. But it's just not a game I've really gravitated towards, to be honest. If that ends up breaking the slate, then so be it. But I've really liked some of these other spots. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, I talked about them already. But you get it. Those core guys. At tight end, it's the value-ish guys. The guys that grade out is the best value for me, and that's Freiermuth, Pitts. Troutman's going to get more targets with all the injuries in Denver. And then Chig Okongwu. Like I said, Tennessee's targets their tight end third most. Some of the top. They target their tight end one of the most in the entire league. All right, so expect a lot of targets to go to tight end here for Tennessee. I like this spot against New Orleans, so it's a solid spot for him. Troutman has the value, and then Freiermuth and Pitts are two of the favorites when it comes to just value options overall. When you look at projection-wise, you look at the top projected. Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, Pitts. Now, whatever you do here, kind of make it correlate. You can one-off it if you want. Like if you're playing Mark Andrews, fucking run it with Lamar. If you're playing Hawkinson, maybe have that line up with Cousins. You know what I mean? Kyle Pitts, try Desmond Ritter. You know what I mean? Or you can one-off them. That's fine. I've have a lot of lines that are kind of one-offing tight end. But yeah, overall. That's kind of how I'm liking the slate, man. Commanders is my defense. Not really overthinking that spot. Yeah, so I feel like I have a really solid grasp on the way I want to attack this slate. Obviously, it's gambling, so we'll see what happens. The first slate of the year, we dominated. We smashed Thursday Night Showdown. Both the fave and the slash fave both did well. FanDuel did well. Everything was great. So I'm starting the year off undefeated. Tomorrow we have college football. If you haven't played college football yet with us, it's worth the NFL package by itself. The NFL package includes that. So go to greenlightdfs.com, join the squad for NFL. You will get college football tomorrow. You'll get Sunday's main slate. You'll get the Sunday night showdown. You'll get Monday nights. Like, grab it, baby. So much content at Greenlight DFS. We already made well over the membership fee, so anything else is just profit from Greenlight members so far this week in week one. So no matter what happens, we're going to end up, and we're going to smash this slate. I really love the way I feel about this slate, and I'm excited to get to it. All right? So let's get it. Thank you guys for joining me as always, and I'm out. Peace.